Hello class, today we're going to study what is a rational expression.
What is a rational expression? A rational expression is a fraction that has a polynomial as its numerator and or denominator. Let's look at some examples of a rational expression. 3 over 4 is a rational expression. Z over 6. 5 over x plus 2. T squared plus 3t minus 10 over 7t squared minus 4. All of these are examples of rational expressions because in 3/4 we have a constant which in itself is a polynomial in the numerator and denominator, z over 6, 5 over x plus 2, and t squared plus 310 minus t minus 10 over 7t squared minus 4 is also a polynomial. So all of these are rational expressions. Now one thing we want to remember is because a rational expression is actually a fraction, then the rules for fractions apply. Well, what do we mean by that? We mean that one instance is that you cannot have a divide by 0. Remember, that's a no-no when it comes to actually doing fractions. So let's discuss that. Why can't we have a divide by 0? So a divide by 0 meaning we cannot have 0 in the denominator. Well, let's see why. Let's look at an example. Suppose we have 6 over 2. Well, we know that really means 6 divided by 2. So we're asking ourselves, 6 divided by 2 equals what number? Well, that's the same as saying, what number can I multiply by 2 and get 6? Well, we all know that that number is 3. Well, what happens when we have 3 in the 0 rather in the denominator? We're saying 3 divided by 0 equals what number? Using the same reasoning, we're asking ourselves, what number can we multiply by 0 and get 3? Well, we all know that there's not a number that we can multiply by 0 and get any number, so this is undefined, meaning that it's impossible to do. So therefore, since a rational expression is a fraction, we do not want to have 0 in the denominator. So let's look at some examples. So we want to find all numbers for which each rational expression is not defined. In other words, we want to find out where the denominator for these rational expressions go to 0 because we can't have a divide by 0. Let's look at this first one. 6 over x minus 7. So our question is, when is x minus 7 equal to 0? Whenever x minus 7 is equal to 0, that is where this rational expression is not defined. So x minus 7 is equal to 0 whenever x is 7. So our answer is 7. Okay, let's look at another example. Suppose we have x squared plus 10 over x squared minus 5x minus 24. We want to know, when is this rational expression not defined? Well, we don't have to worry about the numerator, it's the denominator. So our question is, when is x squared minus 5x minus 24 equal to 0? Whenever that's equal to 0, that is the x where this rational expression is not defined. So we want to factor. Remember, this is a trinomial with leading coefficient of 1. So to factor this, we're looking for two numbers, and the W/ stands for with a product of our last term, negative 24, and a sum of our middle term, negative 5. So those two numbers are negative 8 and 3, because negative 8 times 3 is negative 24, and negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5. So that factors into x minus 8 times x plus 3 equals 0. Remember, by the zero product property, if we have two or more things multiplied together to give 0, then that means that one or more of those things had to be equal to 0. So we split them apart and solve for x. So we have x equal 8 and x equal negative 3. So these are the two x's, the two values where this rational expression is not defined, because these numbers drive this denominator to 0, and having 0 in the denominator is a big no-no in math. We have one more example to do. We have a cubed minus 2a squared over a squared minus 4, and we want to find a such that this rational expression is undefined. So find the a, or find the variable where this rational expression is not defined. Once again, we are not concerned with the numerator, only the denominator. So our question is, when is a squared minus 4 equal to 0? Notice one way to do this, to solve for a, is to notice that this factors into, this is the sum of two squares, so it factors into the sum a plus 2 times the difference a minus 2. We set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So these are the two values, negative 2 and 2, where this rational expression is not defined.
Remember, in order to learn math, you've got to do math. You've got this. Class dismissed.